You're rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats.
Franco Morbidelli, rider of the Pertamina Enduro VR46 racing team, managed to record the fastest time in the first free practice session, FP1, of the 2025 Austin MotoGP held at Circuit of the Americas, COTA, Texas, United States. Despite the rainy weather conditions enveloping the circuit, Morbidelli appeared impressive by outperforming other riders. In second place, Jack Miller of the Prima Pramac racing team showed a solid performance, although the bad weather added to the challenges for the riders. Meanwhile, the third position was occupied by Marc Marquez of the Ducati Lenovo team. However, despite his third-place finish, Marquez suffered a crash during rainy conditions, which caused concern for the team and fans. Morbidelli's success is a positive signal for the Pertamina Enduro VR46 racing team ahead of the main race, showing that he is ready for the challenges of the 2025 season. And here's the full news. Franco Morbidelli, the flagship rider of the Pertamina Enduro VR46 racing team, recorded the fastest time in the first free practice session, FP1, of the 2025 Austin MotoGP, which took place at Circuit of the Americas, COTA, Texas, United States, on Friday morning local time. The rainy weather that poured down on the circuit made this practice session very challenging for all the riders taking part, but Morbidelli managed to perform brilliantly in the midst of these difficult conditions. With the circuit slippery and full of puddles due to the heavy rain, Morbidelli showed excellent driving skills and the ability to adapt quickly to changing track conditions. The 29-year-old was able to outrun his rivals, proving that he is truly ready to compete in the 2025 season, despite the challenges posed by the unpredictable weather and circuit conditions. With his best time, Morbidelli not only confirmed himself as the fastest rider in FP1, but also showed a significant improvement in his performance, after the last few seasons of challenges in finding consistency. His success in this first practice session gives the Pertamina Enduro VR46 racing team great hope of recording the best results in Austin and throughout the 2025 MotoGP season. The team, known for its in-depth technical approach and full support of bike development, can now feel more confident ahead of the main race weekend. Nonetheless, Morbidelli will have to face stiff competition from a number of top riders who also put in solid performances under these rainy conditions. In second place, Jack Miller of the Prima Pramac racing team managed to show a steady performance by overcoming the challenges of the wet track. The Australian is known for his aggressive racing style and excellent cornering technique, which allows him to go fast even in bad weather. In this FP1, Miller was only slightly behind Morbidelli, showing that he is a serious threat throughout the practice and qualifying sessions. In third place, Ducati Lenovo team rider Marc Marquez put in a determined performance despite the challenging conditions. However, Marquez, who is known for his exceptional ability in extreme conditions, had to face an unfortunate reality when he crashed at the end of the practice session. The incident occurred when Marquez tried to optimize his speed on a slipperier part of the track due to heavy rain. Luckily, Marquez did not suffer any serious injuries, and although the bike was damaged, the Spaniard quickly returned to the pits to repair the bike and continue his preparations. Marquez's crash was one of the more surprising moments of the FP1 session. However, the crash showed just how high the adrenaline levels are for MotoGP riders, especially in the risky rainy conditions. Marquez, who has a reputation as one of the most talented and experienced riders in extreme conditions, was not afraid of the challenge. The Ducati Lenovo team also ensured that Marquez would still be ready to perform at his best in the next sessions, with quick improvements made to the bike. Apart from the top three riders, several other riders also stood out in FP1, although they faced similar difficulties with the wet track conditions. Other young and experienced riders attempted to adapt their racing style to the hostile circuit conditions, and although many faced incidents or difficulties, they still gave exciting performances in this first practice session. For the Pertamina Enduro VR46 racing team, this FP1 result is an important achievement. Morbidelli, who is one of the team's mainstays, has shown that he is in top form. The VR46 team, which relies on a strong bike development philosophy and close cooperation with the riders, is increasingly showing maturity in facing the various challenges that exist in MotoGP. Even so, Morbidelli emphasized that he and the team still need to be careful and focused in the next sessions, as changing weather and track conditions could affect the final results. Seeing the increasingly tight competition in the MotoGP event, Morbidelli admitted that he still had to maintain consistency and remain calm even though he managed to record the fastest time in FP1. The Italian rider also reminded that MotoGP races are full of uncertainties, especially with various outside factors that can affect the results. Therefore, he emphasized the importance of continuously improving speed and tactics in every practice session and race, as this will greatly affect the end of the season. Meanwhile, for Jack Miller, the FP1 result gives him even more confidence, given that he is also involved in a tight competition for podium positions. The Prima Pramac racing team, which has shown a solid performance in recent seasons, further strengthened their case for victory at the COTA circuit, despite the weather being an important factor in determining the results. Ultimately, despite the conclusion of FP1, the competition in the 2025 Austin MotoGP is still very much open. With promising results from Morbidelli, Miller, and Marquez, and the weather likely to still be a deciding factor, the Austin 2025 MotoGP promises to be a very exciting race full of surprises. All eyes are now on the next free practice session and qualifying, to see who will come out on top in what will be a thrilling weekend. The 2025 MotoGP Austin will be the place where the riders will once again show their toughness and ability to deal with all conditions, be it weather, track conditions, or the pressure of the strongest opponents in the world of motorcycle racing. Jorge Martin's opportunity to ride a MotoGP bike before appearing in an official event was broken by Ducati boss Davide Tardozzi. Previously, Massimo Rivola, as CEO of Aprilia Corse, proposed a new rule. Rivola proposed that injured riders be given the opportunity to ride a MotoGP bike before undergoing an official session. There should be a rule that if a rider has missed 2 or 3 racing series, he can test ride a MotoGP bike, Rivola was quoted as saying by Speedweek. He also did not deny that there were many personal interests behind the proposal, especially for the main racer, Jorge Martin, who has been absent since experiencing a serious incident during the pre-season test in Malaysia. However, he thinks the proposal will benefit the entire championship in terms of safety, and ultimately for the show. "I think it's a good idea and everyone agrees, except one person," said Rivola. The person in question is of course Tardozzi, who firmly rejected Rivola's proposal to be implemented this year. "It could be a good idea for the future," said Tardozzi. The Ducati Lenovo team manager mentioned that he also experienced the same problem as Enea Bastianini a few years ago. "We faced the same problem with Enea, but no one gave us the opportunity to test it," regretted Tardozzi. That's why he's not in favor of implementing the proposed rule this year. Rivola also apologized for not proposing this earlier. "I apologize for not proposing this earlier. But this idea was born because this happened to us," he concluded. With this, Martin's chance to try the Aprilia MotoGP bike again before the official session seems lost. Martin himself hopes to return to paving in the Qatar MotoGP series later. On the other hand, General Manager of Ducati Corse, Gigi D'Aligna, gave an explanation that seemed to emphasize that Marc Marquez's dominance in the 2 racing series earlier this season was due to pure talent. Marquez's 2 wins in the races in Thailand and Argentina began to bring jealousy from the Francesco Bagnaia camp. Bagnaia has only been able to get on the podium once in 2 long races at the start of the 2025 MotoGP season. The 3rd podium is not where it should be for Bagnaia, who is a 2-time MotoGP world champion. Moreover, Bagnaia has more experience than Marquez in understanding the Desmosedici GP bike. D'Aligna is most responsible for the gap in the results obtained by his 2 riders. Let's say there are parts of the team that celebrate, there are also those who have to work a little, said Doligna, quoted by Moto-san. That is my job. I am always in a place that has problems. So I try to help those who are struggling the most so they can do their best, said the Italian engineer. The white-haired man emphasized that he always listens to his driver's complaints after the race. We always talk after the race. He said, remember that I always prefer to wait a little while after the race to analyze the problems that arise and also to fully understand what problems the riders are experiencing. It's normal to debrief the riders, it's usually done quietly after the race. And above all, we usually do it together with all the technicians, who can then make decisions to change the situation, he said. Doligna once again emphasized that there are no problems with Bagnaya's bike this season. Let's just say there is no problem. As always, there will be problems if you reach the end of the race with destroyed tires. Especially in situations like Buriram, where the conditions are very particular. Obviously, everyone is experiencing the same thing, but there are always small details that can make a difference, said Doligna. The number one person in the Ducati MotoGP team then understands that the next race for Bagnaia will not be easy. The reason is, the race will be held on a circuit that could benefit Marquez at Circuit of the Americas, COTA, Austin. It is very clear that Bagnaia is taking this very seriously and looking for solutions. He did that, and so did we, because he definitely had to go faster. Third position is not Pecco's, he can and must do more. Our goal is for him to express himself to the maximum, said Doligna. The Italian engineer reminded again that Ducati does not discriminate in providing material for each of its riders. Including Marquez, who was great last season with the Desmosedici GP23, and this season gets the latest package from Ducati. Ducati's policy is to provide exactly the same material to all riders. We have shown it many times, and also last year with Martin and Pecco. Marc doesn't have different parts from the others. He has exactly the same bike as the others, Doligna said.
You're rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take